Good morning. I was just thinking there, rather than the weather report, I'll just do a little bit of quick reflection on frequency that I've been doing this. I think originally I had to conjure up quite a lot of confidence to actually just give this a go, and I'm actually quite enjoying it. I'm not sure what people are making of it, but certainly I think as long as it's kind of working for me, that's the main thing. I'm trying to just think what people might find useful, and it's generally whatever's on my mind. I suspect is probably on other people's minds as well. I think originally I had in mind that I would probably sit down maybe once a week and talk about something in this format. I think it's ended up being every other day on average. Whether that will continue or not, I don't know. The last thing I want to do is come on and force something out. Essentially, I do want it to be true to whatever's going on in my head and sort of originally me, or maybe some good ideas from somewhere else that I've seen that are working for me, so that I'm not just parroting something back to you. So essentially what I had that was on my mind today was I was just thinking about self-awareness, and I think it's one of those key starting points really. I think no matter what you're trying to achieve, if you don't have any self-awareness, you're going to struggle to measure where you're starting from and whether you're making any progress. And certainly I talked a bit about the importance of pausing to reflect back and actually see how much growth you've been making, because it's likely you've made at least some growth, and it's possible that you're getting a bit disillusioned by not stopping and recognising it. So I just wanted to talk about a couple of things to do with self-awareness. And like I say, I think it's one of those real key things, other than just understanding what you're all about, which can be quite tricky. And I think some people never get there. So I consider myself quite fortunate at the age I'm at the moment to be making some strides with that. Although I do know that I'm probably going to be a work in progress forevermore. So yeah, self-awareness. What can you do to increase it? So I think it's really important to tap into things like what you're thinking and how you're feeling, as people quite often just blindly plough on and try not to give it too much thought. And particularly when it comes to things like what you're actually thinking, because how you're feeling is largely determined by what you're thinking. You're a product of your environment, and you can't always really control a lot of what's going on in the background. It's like those computer programs, you're not actually using them, but they're essential and they're running in the background. It's a bit like that, and that's how I think of it. I think trying to tap into some of that awareness of what you're actually thinking and what's going on in your head is really, really important, because it can be quite illuminating as to, that's why I'm maybe feeling a bit on edge, or that's the reason why I'm feeling a bit uptight, that's the reason why I feel sad, perturbed, I'm ruminating over something. And I think there was a couple of things I found useful that I'm still working through that perhaps you could try if you're struggling with something similar. So the first thing is, I think mindfulness is quite a broad brush term, but meditation. So meditation was a thing I've struggled to get into. I always hear people talking about the massive benefits of meditation, I could never really find an accessible way to get into it. I never really found it was particularly gelling with me in my day-to-day life. But actually, what I've ended up doing is just having a real minimalistic approach to it. So I literally just do maybe 5 or 10 minutes, depending on how much time I've got in the morning, when no one else is up, preferably when there's minimal chance of you being interrupted. I set a timer for usually minimum 5 minutes, and I just concentrate on my breathing just to ground myself in that moment. And I just do things like techniques that I've picked up from things I've read, things I've listened to, guided meditations. You can get lots of free ones on Spotify, and literally just focusing on the breathing, grounding yourself in that moment. And then doing things like body scanning, so just working your way from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, seeing how you're feeling, touching base with any particular sensations in any particular parts of your body, raising your awareness of them. And then if I've still got time left, because you kind of lose your awareness of the time when you're doing these things generally, If I've got a bit of time left, I'll start to tune into what I can hear, both nearby and far away. It's usually quite surprising what you can actually tap into when you're properly paying attention to what's going on in the moment. I do that for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I found that quite a helpful thing. I don't know if that's the key reason, but I've been able to ruminate less on the past and worry less about the future. As one of the big things that goes on for me at the moment is just worrying about the work situation, because things are fairly pressured at work, and it's rare that there's not more being asked of you than you feel you can give, and it doesn't necessarily feel like there's an easy solution or an end in sight necessarily. So that's something that creeps in quite a lot when I'm at home. So I think having that ability to be able to just take a few deep breaths and touch base with the current situation and just try and keep home and work separate, I think is really important for me. And then the other thing is really simple, and I don't quite know why I hadn't thought of it before, but we're just spending less time bombarding myself with other sensations. So if I go out for a walk with the dog, just spending the first 5 minutes at least of the walk with no earphones in, and just allow myself to actually experience what's going on in my head and touch base with it and just be aware of it. And equally, if I'm driving somewhere, not having headphones in, if I'm on my own in the car, a bit rude if I've got someone else in the car, and not wanting the radio on necessarily, so just doing short trips in the car without any distraction in the background. I think it's just allowing me to raise that level of awareness of what's going on in my head, and then if I know what's going on in my head, then I know what to do about it. So in summary, it's trying a bit of kind of mindful downtime where you're tapping into what's going on at that moment in time, and also reducing the amount of distractions that you're throwing in. So, do you really need your headphones in when you're going for that walk, even just for the first 5 minutes or so? If you're driving somewhere in the car, do you need to have your headphones in? Do you need to have the radio on? Actually just allow yourself to experience what's going on for you at the moment, and once you've done that, you might be in a position to then find solutions for things that are going on for you. Okay, I think that's probably enough. I'm going on a bit longer than I like to. I like to keep them bite-sized and digestible, but if you've got anything you want to hear my thoughts on, or you've got any comments on the stuff I've done so far, then please feel free to comment on either on the video itself or on any of the social media sites, and I will see you next time.